First thing we need to do to service this transmission, the solenoids in them, is to disconnect that electrical connector there. So it's a 10 millimeter bolt. So we'll go ahead and remove that. Then we'll drain the transmission, remove the pan, and let everything drain for a bit. Loosen up the solenoids, let those drain for a bit. Then we can remove the solenoid plate itself. Sometimes some people call it a valve body. It's not a true valve body, it's really a solenoid body. But regardless, it does kind of the same thing. So we'll get it all drained and get that out of here shortly. So let's get this electrical connector off. Oh, still on. There we go. A few more threads. And there you go. And this is what connects it to the computer system of the vehicle. This transmission is completely computerized. So everything the transmission knows, the computer is feeding to it and telling it, as well as conditions in the transmission are being fed back to the computer. So that has to come off because the other end of this connector that sits up in this area up here actually slips out with the valve body, or the in this case the solenoids, and it's part of the solenoid plate. So we have to take this off in order to get the solenoids out. So we'll just tuck that up out of the way. The next thing we need to do is take the drain plug out right here, drain all the fluid. This transmission right down here at the bottom in the pan, we're probably going to see about 2 gallons or 8 quarts drain out of this thing, including what drains out of the solenoid body and the filter. So it's going to take a few minutes to really drain it all, and so we'll go from there. Once we get it all drained, we'll seal it up, and once it's sealed up, then we'll get the drain pan out of here once we've managed to get all the transmission fluid. So I'll just hit this real quick. And it's starting to drain. So you want to be gentle because it's going to come out pretty quickly once it's released. Try not to get it all over yourself. There it goes. Looks pretty clear, pretty red. That's what we want to see. If it's kind of brown, you know, it probably overheated. And we'll take a look at the inside of the pan and the magnet that's inside, just up inside here where it's draining. There's a magnet to catch any little metal shavings. So we'll check that too to see the condition of the transmission. Of course, if we see big chunks and shavings in there, then there's clearly a problem. Could be a pressure problem and it affected the pump or something like that. But if it's just really small, fine stuff and not a huge amount of it, that's going to be normal transmission wear. So we'll just go ahead and let this thing drain for now, and we'll come back once it's all drained. Well, it's pretty much drained. So I'm going to put the plug back in. The idea here is we've drained all the good fluid. It's good, red, clear, it's reusable. But what's in the very bottom of the pan right here could have some gunk in it, so we don't want to have any of that fall into here because we're going to use this. And so leave the plug in. Now it's time to take off the pan, and we'll get our first glimpse of the insides. Now initially we're just going to loosen these bolts, and then we'll take them out probably every other one. And as we start removing more, I'll have to get a hand up under here to support this pan so we don't end up bending the lip as the weight comes down from one side or the other. Pan is off, and you can see the filter dripping transmission fluid and all those cylindrical bodies. Those are the solenoids, and what they do is they switch back and forth and open and close ports for the transmission fluid to move through, and essentially that pressurizes the clutch packs and engages them or disengages them. So I believe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I think there's 8 of them on here. That little black thing right there, maybe I can get my point at it here. Right here is a temperature sensor, but I don't see anything connected to it. So I think the new wiring harness I have does have the temperature sensor wiring to it. So we'll make sure the new temperature sensor is all hooked up, and then we'll be good to go. But I'll know more once I pull this out. Next step is we're going to disconnect that wire from the transmission body, and that'll go with the entire solenoid plate when I remove it. And then we also need to remove this filter. That just twists off. Basically it's held in place by an O-ring, pretty wide O-ring, up into the body of the transmission. And that's going to dump a whole bunch more transmission fluid. So maybe we can see that happening in real time. So let me see if we can get that, because it's connected right up inside here, and when I twist it, it's all going to shoot out into the pan. So let's go ahead and grab that and twist it and pull it away, and there we go. You can see it draining out there. We'll just set this into the pan, get a little bit better view of the solenoids. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, there's 7 of them, 8 of them there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, 8 of them there. And you know, that might be a pressure sensor, that one that wasn't connected. There, probably a pressure sensor, because there's the temperature sensor right over there. That's this wiring right there, if you can see it. That's the temperature sensor for the fluid. And then if we look up this way, this we need to disconnect, because that's connected to the transmission body. And then right behind that, that is for your manual gear selector. You'll see that it's connected here, and then there's a ratcheting device here that connects to the outside of the transmission. And when you operate the Prindle, PRNDL, up in the driver's seat, this thing moves, and it shifts this in and out of the valve body or the solenoid body, and it goes all the way up into here. And so if you put it in drive, there's fluid that moves, tells it it's in drive, and then these things are operating which gear to be in as it's moving, including reverse, as well as some pressure sensors. But we need to make sure when you put this thing back in that you attach this this mechanical selector. Otherwise you will be in a world of hurt. You'll have to take the pan off again and put this all back in. So that's where we stand right now. I'm going to let this drain for just a little bit longer, and then we'll go ahead and pull this old plate out, take it into the garage, clean it off, and then remove some of the items that we need, like this manual selector, out of here and put it into the new body that we're going to be replacing. I chose to do the whole body because I don't know the condition of all of these solenoids. I know that I do have a pressure sensor solenoid problem, but since I've already got the pan off and I don't know the condition of all of these, I'm going to replace them all. And so I just got a remanufactured plate with all the solenoids already in there. So a little bit of plug and play, simply remove this, put that in the new one, and then we can put the whole new plate up. So that's what we're going to do, and we'll be back with you here shortly after this finishes draining. Pulled the pan out, took a look at it. As you can see, I got it all cleaned out. There's a magnet right here, and that collects metal particles, so you can get an idea of the wear that's happening inside the transmission. This did have a lot of fine metal in it, but it's not likely this particular transmission's ever been serviced. So that would be my expectation to see on the magnet. But we've got it cleaned off so we can look at it the next time. And we'll go ahead and put a new gasket that I have right here. This will be a brand new gasket on the pan, as well as a new filter and the new solenoids. So just wanted to show you that the gasket is going to be replaced. This is what the inside looks like when it's all cleaned up, and then we're able to tell what's going on the next time with this magnet. These gaskets, just FYI, are reusable, but with the solenoid body I got, it came with a gasket, so I'm going to go ahead and replace it. That way it's new, and then we'll go from there. So take a look at the pan. Now it's time to go ahead and pull this solenoid body off. All the bolts that matter to get this thing off are all 8mm. So I've got 8mm on the impact gun. Go ahead and pull these out. I've already removed the electrical connector here. You see it just hanging there. That's really all you need to remove as far as this. There is a gasket that is holding the plate into the transmission body, and it's on the end of this here. This is the electrical connector that goes up through the body and connects to this this connector. So it shouldn't drop out, but you still probably want to support it so it does not fall out or break. I have a new wiring harness and new solenoids and all that, so if it was to break, it'd be all right. But if you're just taking it off for maintenance to make it easy to replace a bunch of solenoids, that's fine. You can replace these, all of these, just sitting up under here as is, with one exception, and that's this one here, this pressure solenoid here, because it slides out this direction and will hit this harness. So you would have to remove this harness by twisting it, lifting this little lip here, twisting it, pulling it down, which means you've got to disconnect this one, this one, this one, and this one, so you have enough room, and probably pull the star bolt too here to give this harness enough flex for you to pull this out to remove this one. But the other ones can all be removed while you're sitting up under here. So I still have a little bit of fluid dripping, but it's going to be a considerably larger amount when I loosen these bolts, because there are pathways, channels, and things like that between these two plates. And when I loosen this, it's all going to start draining out again. So be prepared for that if you're taking this thing apart. And so I'm going to try and catch it here with my pan. And here we go. So start hitting these 8mm bolts. And let's see if this comes out now. See if we missed anything. Oh, that one might be. Oh, there's a couple right there. So, yep, we did. We missed a couple. And there we go, and the rain. There we go, and the whole plate is out. And you see it had to wiggle it a little bit because there is an O-ring that is on that, that electrical connector. And before we get out from underneath here is I'm going to show you something that could be a problem if you're not aware of it. So let me wipe this off right in here. See if we get some of those drips off so we're not covering ourselves in transmission fluid as I show you this. If we look up inside there, you see that orange circle? It is a gasket, and it's the gasket for the filter. Need to make sure you get that out. You don't want a double filter because your new filter is going to come with a gasket, so you don't want to double gasket it. And the reason for that is your filter may not press up as deep as it needs to be in there because that second gasket. And if that filter is laying against the pan, for example, and the body moves or you hit a bump or something like that, the filter's plastic. And if you crack the neck of that filter, you could draw air into the system. You get a big old cavitation bubble. And basically what that means is the pump inside of here will be under high pressure, all hydraulic fluid, and then all of a sudden it gets a compressible medium like air, a big air bubble in there, and then another shot of fluid at 600 or 300 or whatever the PSI is on that. You could shatter the pump and create some real problems. So you want to make sure to get those gaskets out. You don't want cracked filters just to protect against cavitation because that can wreak havoc on a transmission. Got the solenoid body out of the vehicle on a workbench. And the only thing we need to do here, because I'm replacing the entire body, all of the solenoids, is one thing. And that is to retrieve the gasket that's right here. You need a gasket. And so this is just a silicone gasket. So we want to take that off. We're going to reuse it. It looks like it's in good shape, but I'll inspect it a little closer. Yeah. It's in good shape. I would much rather replace this gasket, but the kit that I got did not come with this gasket. Looked it over. As you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 solenoids, temperature sensor here. This does not have a connection, but it's probably a pressure sensor. In fact, I'm sure it's a pressure sensor. But I wanted to compare this to the remanufactured part that I got to ensure that these were the same setup. And they are. Screws are all in the same spot. All the bolts go in the same spot. Here. All of these long ones are all in the same spot. The valves, pressure relief, all of that looks the same on here. And so we can go ahead and proceed with this one. One thing we need to do is we've got to make sure that the manual valve is replaced. And I mentioned earlier in the video that that's what this is right here. And you can see it just slides out. And what we're counting on is that this isn't too worn. And then that will just slide in here. And actually, you know, it feels pretty darn good. I'm going to say that actually is working really well. I don't feel any play in it. It's no up and down, no side to side. So there we go. We just need to make sure that that's in there. That way you can manually select your gears all the way down to 1. And we're going to get a wiring harness put on that. And I'll clear off this one, and then we'll put the wiring harness on this one. I do have a wiring harness for it, and we'll go ahead and wire that in. There's the connector. We'll get a good view of that, so you can get that up close, and then we can finish putting this together, and it goes back up into the transmission. The new wiring harness on, I need a couple of bolts off the old one, and that's these T25s, one here and one here. Those are holding down the wiring harness, and I need them over on the other body to hold down the new wiring harness. So I'm going to go ahead and get those off. So let's see if they come off relatively easy. Oh yeah, there they go. Alright, so that one's about out. Alright, so that one's out. And let's see if we can get the other one out here. And loose. Excellent. Alright, so we'll get that transferred over, and then I'll remove this body, and then we'll go ahead and finish assembling this one over here. I've got the desk cleaned up a little bit. So I've got the other one off the bench now. We're going to start on this one. So let's get this wired up. These kind of go down in here and in here like this. But what we're going to do is get this through the body. This is the external connector that connects the automotive computer to the transmission. And this actually sticks out of the transmission body, which is why we have a gasket here. Don't put the gasket on until this is through. You'll never get it through. Put it on after the fact. And so I'm going to lift this up. We're going to push this through, twist it, and then twist it back. And what that's going to do is lock it into place. So we get it down, and you see there's a little tab here. I don't know if you can see that tab. That gets twisted into place up and over that little ridge and snaps into place. Now this is locked in, and then as you can see it now sits up because this is locked in. Now we can go ahead and put the rest of the wiring in. So this is going to wire in under these, under the solenoids, and then get screwed in here with that T25. And so we'll go ahead and get that going here. And away it goes. Okay, almost there. Now remember, this is plastic, so don't go to town on it. And then we get the other one. I don't know if you can see how well that's going to go underneath, but it's going to slip underneath, and we get our wiring all set up here so it's proper, and then we just slide it back under these solenoids. And then you'll see that it attaches right there. And so put the T25 in there, tighten that down, and then everything will connect to the various solenoids. We've got the torques down. These are all locked in nice and tight. And so now it's just a matter of wiring everything back up. So each one is where it's supposed to be. And so we'll start down here and work our way back. You can see there's a lock on each one and a tab on each one. So we want to make sure that the lock and the tab lock in. That one's locked in. Similarly, we have them on this one. So we'll lock that in. I'll leave that one setting still for a second. We'll do the same thing with this one. Locked in. And then we just go around all of them, do the same thing until they're all in. Definitely don't want to miss one of these. Locked in. Now this is the connector that connects into the transmission. Once this is up, this will plug in to a socket up inside the transmission. And then the other one is what plugs into the computer system. One left over, and that's this one here. This is the temperature sensor. And so we want to make sure that that is connected also. You don't want to forget that one. That way, if it's overheating, you get that warning. But that's as easy it is to get this thing wired up. It's ready to go back up in the vehicle. And so that's going to be the next stop. We'll get back up under the vehicle with this, and we will go ahead and get it all tightened down, torqued down. One other thing here, make sure we remove this cover. This is just a cover to protect the pins in here. So before you try and connect the computer up, make sure this cover is off. So, all right, let's get out under the vehicle. One other thing before I go out under the vehicle, and that is the filter. So here's the new filter. See, it's nice and clean. But here's the throat that goes up inside the transmission body. And you see it's got this orange gasket on it. It's already there, good to go. This is the old gasket. And when I removed the filter, this was still up inside the transmission body. You got to make sure you get this out of here. Because if you get two on there and there's no room for this to compress, this, you can see there's a ridge there. This is actually sitting lower into the pan. And because of that, we don't want to take the chance on cracking the pickup in this area, because this is just plastic. If you crack this and it's above the fluid level, it will suck air in there and it can damage the pump to the transmission. So make sure you get this other one off. Here, getting ready to put the solenoid body back in. And if you're wondering what it looks like, there is where that connector goes through. I don't know if there's a lot of light in there, but you can see my hand on the other side coming through. And so that connector gets pushed up through there, and that O-ring seals right here. And that's why you got to make sure you have that O-ring in there. Otherwise, you'll get a transmission leak right there. That fluid will be coming out. So we got to make sure it's nice and clean, and that you got that O-ring on here. Well, let's go ahead and get the solenoid body up and installed. So I have it right here, and I'm going to make sure I don't have any rags attached. Remember to take off the connector here so you can connect the computer back up. And then this is going to slip right up into that hole. And then we also need to make sure over here that our manual valve is into that slot, and then up we go. So now it's actually in. So I'm going to take a couple of these long bolts, and we're going to get those started by hand, just so this darn thing doesn't fall out, because it will try. And so we'll get the other one started on this side. All right. And then I've got a couple of small ones down here on the end. I don't know if you can see that or not. We'll move the camera a little bit. These are going to go down on the end here. And I didn't mention, but there is a gasket on the back of this solenoid body. Attach it with a little assembly lube, some assembly grease, just so it doesn't slide around and you're not chasing the holes because of it. But there's a gasket on the back, and when you're taking this off, make sure there's no gasket material left up under here. Sometimes it tears and it'll stick to the transmission. And you got to make sure that's out of there, because any little gap, you're going to get leaks. It's not going to operate properly. And so really it's just going to be a matter of assembling these, making sure they're up there, threading in properly. Do another one way over here. There we go. I'm going to make sure that that O-ring is sealing properly up in there. The actual O-ring on this fitting here, as you push it through, it's actually chamfered a little bit. So as you push it through, it compresses that O-ring to give you a nice tight seal as it goes through the transmission body. So once it's all torqued down, you're not going to have to worry about really it leaking unless you forget to put that O-ring on. Some people will put two, they'll get a new O-ring and they'll just take the old O-ring and put that on there. There are actually two races for those O-rings, and I've seen people put two on there, and it's okay if you do. It will actually work, but it's not required, just FYI. Alright, so let's get a few more bolts up in there. A couple of mediums here, smalls actually. So those are going to go down at this end. Medium ones in the field, or what I call the field here. Long ones on the outside. So I could use probably one more small one to complete the end down here. Good thing to do to touch. Make sure you've got them. Do a touch on them. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Looks like those are all tightened up. Now, next thing to do is get these all torqued down. I could do one other thing, and that is connect the power, which is right here, or this right to the connector that's right here that goes up in the transmission. It's part of what we have here for the manual control. So your Prindle moves this sprocket here, and it just clicks over this, so you know you're positively in each spot. It moves this valve back and forth, but need to know what's going on with it, and so we need to tell it. And there we go. So power's connected up in here. These are all tight. So let's get a torque wrench on them. So let me go get my torque wrench and I'll be right back. The torque wrench, got it set to 8 foot-pounds. So we'll just go around, start in the field, work our way out. So right here in the center, just go till we get the click. All right, now touch. Walk your way around. Connected, 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 connected. Temperature sensor connected. Body is connected to the transmission, to the manual, or to the teeth here, so we know where the position is, or the system knows where the position is. And so this looks good. This is snapped in. The only other thing we need to do to actually connect the transmission to the vehicle is connect up the that big connector here. So I think we're to the point where we can get we'll get the filter on, we'll get the pan back on, get that all torqued up, we'll fill it, and then we'll give it a start and see how it goes. And so we have the filter right here. with a single gasket on it, and that's going to go up into here. And so we just set that and work our way up, and there we go. That's it. That's all it takes. We're in there nice and well. Again, we do not crack this this pickup here, because that can cause all manner of problems. So now I'm going to get the pan back up under here and get all the bolts, and we'll get those all zipped up and then torque those down too. And let's make sure we have everything where we want it, up and gentle. And then we may have to just adjust the gasket a little bit till we can get a bolt in there, and then kind of go around doing the same thing with all of them. Cool thing is you're not being covered in transmission fluid when you're doing this, so it makes it a little bit easier. So we'll start a few threads on one. And then we'll kind of do it all the way around. Once we get a couple of in, then the gasket will be set pretty well. I don't know, maybe not. Let's see if we can get this up in there better. Yeah, that's the difference between right-handed when you're trying to do it left-handed. Hey, there we go. We caught some threads. Get a few more of these bolts up in here. Finished getting the pan up and getting all torqued down. I didn't video it. I was in a bit of a hurry listening to the thunder outside. I don't actually know how cloudy and how quickly that's going to come because I can't see it. But I did put the computer connector back on. It only goes on one way. There's a little tab at the top you slide it into, and then a lip at the bottom that presses in. So you can only orient it one way. And so that's up in there. All of these are torqued down. I have tightened down the drain plug. Everything is torqued properly. So next step, let's get some fluid into this beast, and then we'll start it up.